Can you guys hear me?
Anthony, can you hear me?
Yes, Fred, I can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm going to leave you as a panelist, for the meeting. So if you need to speak, you can unmute yourself.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Hope you feel better. All right, good evening and welcome to the Township Committee meeting of September 22nd, 2020. Ms. Borak, please call the roll.
Chairman Dahlberg.
Here.
Committeewoman Holmes.
Here.
Committeewoman McCauley.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Lapani.
Here.
Mayor Thompson.
Here.
Administrator Ferrera.
Here.
Here.
And Attorney Bernstein.
Okay, please join me in a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Please be advised that in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, notice of this meeting was made by the posting on the bulletin board of the Hillsborough Township Municipal Complex and on the Township website notifying the officially designated newspapers that the meeting would take place at the Hillsborough Township Municipal Complex at 7:30 p.m. on September 22nd, 2020. Members of the public may participate in this public meeting via Zoom. Before we begin the business of our meeting, I would just like to call for a quick moment of silence for Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was an American jurist who served on the Supreme Court of the United States from 1993 until her death last week, or Saturday, I believe. So if we could just take a quick moment of silence. Thank you. Moving on to business portion of our meeting, we have no minutes for approval, so we're going to move on to committee liaisons and other reports. So first up, Committeeman Delcor.
Thank you, Mayor. We have our Parks and Recreation crew. They continue to work on programs even through the COVID pandemic process. So we are going to be having on October the 29th from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. at Norris Hill Farm. We'll be hosting our annual Children's Halloween Party. The event is $8 per child, which includes a walk through the children's bale maze, hayride to the pumpkin patch, and much more. And don't forget to stop by and say hi to the Hillsborough Police and Fire Safety teams, who will also be there in attendance. Pre-registration is required for this event and can be found on the Parks and Recreation website. Also on Saturday, October the 31st, starting at 8:30 a.m., we'll have our annual Dog Halloween, which will take place at Ann Van Millsworth Dog Park. During this event, families and pets will be able to gather in the dog park while our Hillsborough Girl Scouts rank the costumes and select prize winners, such as best costume, best group costume, and much more. All prizes are donated from local businesses, and this is really a nice, fun event for those pet owners and pet lovers. So come on out and decorate your dog and have a good time over at Ann Van Millsworth Park. And we're also doing an additional option this year for young trick-or-treaters. This year it's called the Trunk or Treat. The Trunk or Treat will take place again on Saturday the 31st from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. at Willow Road Complex. Two options residents can use to take advantage of this event. Families can provide a decorated trunk vehicle as well as candy to hand out to the trunk-or-treaters. Or option two, if you don't have a vehicle to decorate or include, no problem. Families can register their children to treat without a trunk for $5 per child. There is some limited capacity, but we hope we can accommodate everyone that would like to participate. So trunk or treaters will also be able to vote on the best trunk. Pre-registration again is required for both options, so please visit the Township website or the Parks and Recreation page for additional detail. We will be having a flu vaccination clinic. The Hillsborough Health Department and Greenbrook Family Practice will sponsor the 2020 flu vaccinations for all Hillsborough residents. The clinic for residents will be held on Thursday, the 24th. That's 2 days from today at the Hillsborough Municipal Building. Senior citizens and high-risk individuals with chronic conditions only will be admitted from 1:30 to 3:30, and all other residents ages 6 months and up will be admitted from 3:30 to 6:30. Please see the e-news or visit the website for more information and all of the details. And also from the Health Department, as you're probably aware now, we are similar to as local businesses are required, working on contact tracing throughout the township. The township health officer and our team are continuing to trace to monitor the township's case count and contact individuals to conduct contact tracing. If you have been exposed, you should self-monitor as usual and be alert for any symptoms for 14 days. If you receive a call from the Hillsborough Township Health Department regarding your activities, please, we're asking you to please return their call promptly. Your cooperation is extremely important to the process. If you have tested positive or receive a call from someone you know who has tested positive, please contact the Hillsborough Health Department immediately at 908-369-5652. It's Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30, or email during non-business hours to spano@hillsborough-nd.org. The team here has been really diligent in trying to work on ensuring that we have all the contact tracing in place that's necessary to keep the residents safe. We do have our health officer, Siobhan Spano, with us tonight to provide some further comment on contact tracing. Siobhan?
Hi, I just wanted to say that the health department does appreciate everybody who has been so cooperative and understanding when contacted. It's been a really long spring and summer. Now we're into fall and we need everybody's help. We found that some people are not reporting contacts. The health department needs to know about the contacts of a positive person. It's good for you to contact them right away to let them know so they can begin their quarantine, but we still need to know about it because if their health conditions change during the quarantine, they go from being from incubating to becoming an actual case, which is contagious. So we need to speak with them because then we change from the 14-day quarantine to if you're symptomatic, you're contagious, and you need to be monitored for an additional minimum 10 days from the start of symptoms. And other factors such as fever and symptoms come into play at that point. Also, asymptomatic people who test positive can be contagious, and that period of 10 days applies to them as well. We just want to make sure that everybody who is a contact is out of quarantine without symptoms so they're not contagious, especially before the start of school. So please, if you're a contact and the health department has not spoken to you, please call us as soon as possible. We want to make sure that everybody's able to remain healthy in school and sports, and we want to protect our vulnerable population. So we really do need to speak with those contacts. It's not enough just to call them yourself. That's all I just wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Siobhan. Obviously a very important message. So we hope everyone will heed the instructions and make sure you're keeping us abreast of any new developments. We want to make sure we're keeping the residents safe. And that means if we have to reach out when there are circumstances, we have the personnel in place to do that. I'd like to just before I finish here, I just really wanted to recognize the health department, Siobhan and her team, but especially Siobhan, Mike Carr, and Nick Delisi, who have been really diligent since the outset of this pandemic. You know, it's hard to believe it's been 6 months, but their work and efforts have been really extraordinary through this time. And as most of us are starting to wind our way back to some normalcy, you know, their work is still not ending. So they're as busy today as they've been. So I just really appreciate all the work and effort that's gone in. It's been a pretty thankless role, but they do it with a smile, and they do it because they care about the community. So I just want to thank Siobhan. Thank you for being here, and thanks to all your team.
Thank you.
Great work that you guys have done these past 6 months.
Thanks a lot.
Mayor,
That's all for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Mayor, let the
Yes.
record reflect that at 7:38, Attorney Bernstein joined the meeting.
Welcome, Mr. Bernstein. Next up this evening is Committeewoman McCauley.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. A few things for me from the finance team. The 2020 final 2021 preliminary tax bills are in the process of being mailed. So you should receive your bills by the end of the month. The state of New Jersey has not released the homestead benefits as of now. So therefore, there is no credit for that on your fourth quarter 2020 tax bills. So if you are expecting it, there's no need to call. They just haven't released it yet from the state. And the Hillsborough Millstone Municipal Alliance wanted to make the public aware that if you or any of your loved ones are suffering from a substance use disorder, that the New Jersey Human Services is making the opioid overdose reversal drug Narcan available for free September 24th through the 26th at participating pharmacies throughout New Jersey. New Jerseyans will be able to visit participating pharmacies and anonymously obtain the Narcan for free without a prescription or an appointment, and each pack does contain 2 doses. Narcan can reverse overdoses from opioids by blocking the effects of opioids on the brain. And those who do obtain Narcan will also be given information regarding addiction treatment and recovery through Reach NJ, a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week addictions hotline where people can call and get some help or assistance in what they can do. Friends and family of people suffering from this type of disorder can also get immediate assistance and support from live New Jersey-based trained addiction counselors. So again, September 24th through the 26th, and the current pharmacies in the area would be CVS on Triangle Road in Hillsborough, ShopRite Pharmacy also here in Hillsborough, and Weiss Market also here in Hillsborough will be participating. So, you know, it's unfortunate that you may need this type of assistance, but if you do, please make sure that you go within those 2 days to get the assistance that you or a loved one may need. Important days for the upcoming general election. I know everyone's anxious to find out if we're going to have any locations. Vote by mail is still the way to go. There will be no in-person voting unless you can prove that you are disabled, or otherwise you have to vote by mail. So on Monday, October 5th, the ballots for active voters will be mailed out by this date. Ballots can be submitted as soon as they are received, which may happen before this date, but the ballots for active voters will be mailed out by Monday, October 5th. Tuesday, October 13th, this is the last day to register to vote and to be able to cast a ballot in the 2020 general election. Again, that is Tuesday, October 13th, the last day to register to vote. Friday, October 23rd, this is the last day to request a replacement ballot through the mail. Ballots can still be requested in person at the county clerk's office. That location will be determined since there are COVID restrictions. So stay tuned for that. If you do need to go to the clerk's office, we will be putting that probably on the website or announcing in the near future. That can be through 8 p.m. on November 3rd. That the ballots can still be requested by 8 p.m. on November 3rd. And Tuesday, November 3rd is election day. So remember, sometimes I always think it's the 6th, for some reason it's the 3rd. So November 3rd is election day. Please keep in mind again that just as the primary, this will be a mail-in ballot only election. Be sure you complete your received mail-in ballot and return it as soon as possible. And I think that's it for me this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. A reminder to submit your historic photos of Hillsborough Township for the 2021 Township Calendar, commemorating the 250th anniversary of our wonderful community. As mentioned at last meeting, the township is pleased to be working with town planner to produce a 250th anniversary edition of the color printed 2021 calendar, which will be mailed out to every resident in Hillsborough. Previous calendars, which were mailed out in December of each year, include various schedules, important dates, and phone numbers for the upcoming year, as well as at least 12 photographs featuring Hillsborough Township's landscape and scenery submitted by our residents. This year, the twist is historic. Pictures to commemorate Hillsborough's rich 250-year history. Individuals interested in submitting photographs for consideration for the 2021 anniversary calendar can email their high-resolution image to the township clerk and public information officer at pborick@hillsborough-nj.org. A reminder, the 2020 census, there's still time to complete the 2020 census. This is very important that we are all counted in this census. September 30th is the deadline in New Jersey. So please, if you haven't filled it out, do. To learn more about the impacts of the census or to complete it online, visit the website 2020census.gov. Take a few minutes and please complete your census. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Last up this evening is Deputy Mayor LaPan.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I'd like to thank you to ShopRite of Hillsborough for the invitation to participate in their annual Bag for Hunger last week. We have members of our police department and also from the Community Assistant Network who participated. And for a guy that likes to be efficient in packing bags, it was a fun practice to see how I could efficiently put things into a bag. Everything I did okay. I got a thumbs up. Secondly, I like to, last night, the Knights of Columbus hosted a prayer service at our police department honor garden. I'd like to thank all those who attended to show support to the local police department. From the building department, please don't forget to close out your open permits. When taking out a building permit, please remember that the permit will remain open until all final inspections have been completed. Please contact the building department if you are unsure of what open permits you may have so we can assist you in closing them. In the engineering department, it's a simple reminder that they might have a conservation easement located on their property. Conservation easements are placed on properties due to possible flood areas, wetlands, or access buffers to other properties or roads. Removal of trees or other vegetation is prohibited in these conservation easements. Please check your survey or contact the engineering department for further information. From our business advocate, if you're not aware, October is National Women's Small Business Month. And I'm proud to say we have several in our great community here. So we plan to celebrate the growth and accomplishments of these female entrepreneurs, to recognize the vital role they play in our economy, and to spotlight successful women businesses and their owners. Hillsborough Township is proud to announce that each week in October, the Hillsborough Economic and Business Development Commission, the EDBC, will feature a weekly profile on women business owners in the Township e-News and the other Township communications. Many more women business owners will be highlighted on the HBA page of the Township website, so please stay tuned for more information and check out our great women-owned businesses and support them obviously as much as possible. From the DPW, the Public Works Department is currently in the middle of chip seal programs, as stated in our last meeting. The work should be wrapping up by the end of the week. The department's primary focus for next month will be addressing road repairs as we head towards cooler weather. And lastly, just a reminder put out by the Rotary. On Thursday, October 1st, beginning at 7 p.m., the Rotary Club of Hillsborough, together with Petrox Bar and Grill and Petrox Liquors, will host a Hillsborough Scott Magic, a live virtual interactive fundraising show featuring the world's most incredible magicians, illusionists, and mind readers who have performed on such shows as America's Got Talent, Penn and Teller, Fool Us, and Ellen DeGeneres Show. Hillsborough's Got Magic will be a live stream from 3 cities across the U.S. to direct viewers' homes. The performance of side-splitting comedy, jaw-dropping magic, and Zoom-style audience interaction, America's Got Magic promised to have the whole family raving about this new and unique theatrical experience that you have sitting on the edge of your couch. Our starred, the 3 shows will be actually, I believe, will be a New York and a Chicago and a West Coast act. So it'll be all across the country. They'll be pulling people in. Tickets and additional information for Hillsborough's Got Magic are available online at rotarymagic.com. That's rotarymagic.com for October 1st and 7th. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. A couple things from this evening. First, I just want to reiterate the comments made by Committeeman Delcourt and our health officer, Siobhan Spano, who has just done an amazing job throughout this entire crisis. I mean, since March 1st, March 17th, somewhere in that window when we first really jumped into this, that entire department has just been going above and beyond. So again, I just want to thank and reiterate what Committeeman Delcourt had said and remind everyone that the more contact tracing and more participation you have will help us keep the numbers down. And hopefully that will allow our state to open up quicker so that our businesses and, specifically our restaurants can have an opportunity to continue to thrive. Because I can't imagine that until our numbers are down, that the governor is going to increase the 25% threshold on restaurants. So really, we're all in this together. It's a team effort. So please help out any way you can. I want to also thank Woods Road Firehouse. They held their annual 9/11 ceremony on 9/11. It was a very private ceremony. They love having the entire community usually attend, but because of COVID-19, they kept it very small. So I just wanted to thank them for taking the time and keeping a tradition here in Hillsborough to always honor those who gave the ultimate sacrifice going into the towers that day. That they took the time to make sure that everyone still recognizes the day and has a chance to mourn. So thank you to Woods Road Firehouse for that as well. Today, I stopped by the drive-through health fair. I just want to thank you to Foothill Acres for co-sponsoring the event. I think we had close to 100 participants. There were well over 80 cars, lots of people in each car. So I think we had a great event, a good time. So I just want to thank everyone for putting that event together, specifically our health team, our senior services team for that event, and Foothill Acres for co-sponsoring it. As a reminder, our third annual restaurant week starts next Tuesday, September 29th. I visited over 30 participating restaurants, and on one count, we have 40 that are actually participating. You can preview the tour I took on our website and check out the specials and what is new at all of these great food establishments right here in the borough. Special thanks to Kaz, who went with me everywhere and filmed, like I said, 30 plus different restaurants here in town. We spent long days together. So I appreciate everything he did and editing these videos. They're great to watch. So do visit our website and you can sort of check out what all the restaurants here in town have to preview. Also, Hillsborough Township will host 3 flea markets this fall at the Willow Road Complex. The flea markets will be held on Saturdays in October 3rd, 10th, and 24th. Individuals interested in participating and obtaining a space can register online through the rec department's community pass at hillsboroughNJRecreation.org. The cost of the space is $20 per date. The flea market will run from 8 a.m. until noon on each of these dates. Setup will begin at 7 a.m. and fall is obviously the perfect time to get out and either sell or shop at this event offered to the township. Participation is open to individuals, crafters, and small businesses. This is a great opportunity whether you have cleaned out your closets or you are a local artisan with products to sell. I just want to give an extra shout out to our Parks and Rec for helping put this together because I think it's a great use of our efforts. Yes, sorry, Pam.
Mayor, it's actually the 10th, 17th, and 24th. I apologize, not the 3rd.
So it's 10th, so 7th, 17th, and 24th?
10,
Okay.
17, and 24th.
All right, we'll make sure we put that out on the flyer. Thank you. Also, over the summer, the township was approached by members of the Hillsborough Education Foundation to assist with the book drive. The goal was to collect new and gently used books that could be repurposed into classroom libraries. Over the course of a few days, the side multipurpose room became a drop-off spot for residents who had books to donate. Volunteers from the HEF spent countless hours sorting the books by appropriate age groups so that the teachers could easily peruse the selections available and stock their classroom libraries. This is just another great example of the partnership for our children and the community that yielded tremendous results. Where do you hear these numbers? In the end, over 40,000 books were donated. The day of the shopping event, 25 teachers visited the makeshift bookstore and were able to use over 23,000 books.
2,300.
2,300. Okay.
It's been a bad day.
All right, 2,300 books.
Still a lot.
Approximately 2,000 books were then boxed up and given to all the schools in the district. This was a great opportunity to repurpose these books, keeping them out of our landfills while providing additional resources for all of our students. As always, you can stay connected with all the events and more via the e-newsletter, which currently comes out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Twitter. TV29 and the Hillsborough YouTube channel showcase our meetings and Hillsborough The Good Life episodes, and Hillsborough alerts for traffic and emergency notifications. This evening, we do have 3 proclamations that we're going to read into the record. First, for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, Safe and Sound. Domestic Violence Awareness Month was first recognized in 1981 by the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence as a day of unity to connect battered women advocates across the country. Domestic violence affects millions, both women and men of every race, religion, culture, and status. Domestic violence is not only physical abuse, it is yelling, humiliation, stalking, manipulation, coercion, threats, and isolation. Nearly 3 out of 4 Americans personally know someone who is or has been the victim of domestic violence. Safe and Sound Somerset is a local domestic violence resource, services including a 24-hour call and text crisis hotline, emergency safe housing, transitional housing, legal advocacy, individual and group counseling for adults and children, financial empowerment, volunteer domestic violence response teams, family advocacy, and SPEAK community outreach and education. In 2019, Safe and Sound Somerset provided 3,329 adult and children survivors with 4,821 counseling sessions, 1,749 legal advocacy sessions, 5,235 nights of refuge, meals and other necessities, responded to 2,422 calls and texts to the hotline, and provided 251 outreach and violence prevention programs to 6,282 students and community members. Now, therefore, be proclaimed that we, the mayor and the Hillsborough Township Committee, do hereby proclaim October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and encourage all to support victims and survivors to speak out against domestic violence. Next up this evening is a resolution for Sahil Ravula, an Eagle Scout. Sahil, a junior at Hillsborough High School and a member of Boy Scout Troop 89, has recently earned a rank of Eagle Scout. Sahil's Eagle Scout project consisted of building 4 food donation boxes for libraries in Hillsborough, Somerville, North Plainfield, and Peapack Gladstone. Over 16 children and adults from Troop 89 helped with the construction, which took over 100 hours to complete. He served as a librarian, patrol leader, outdoor ethics guide, and troop guide. Sahil is an active member of the Hillsborough High School volleyball team and was selected for the Johnson & Johnson Technology Awareness Program. He also initiated a youth leadership and public speaking program at the Temple and created community center and has taught over 100 students. Now, therefore, be proclaimed that we, the mayor and the Hillsborough Township Committee, do hereby recognize and extend our sincere congratulations to Sahil Ravula for having achieved the rank of Eagle Scout, an honor for both himself and for those who guided him, with best wishes for a bright future. Congratulations. And one last one. The 2020 Hillsborough Baseball League 11U team had a very successful season due to their hard work and dedication. The Hillsborough Baseball League 11U team had a 26-1 final record for the summer season, for a championship game participation every summer tournament, and won the 11U state championship, the Cal Ripken League Northern NJ Division. In 2020, the Hillsborough Baseball League 11U team consisted of the following young athletes: Brendan Bender, Nathan Beanstock, Shane Borer, Elijah Dawes, Connor Emick, John Feltry, Haley McNally, Aiden Murphy, Shane Patel, Gavin Ross, Kyle Simonetis, and Peter Wheeler, and was led by coaches Eric Eden, Scott Ross, Brian McNally, William Bender, and Dave Beanstock. Now, therefore, proclaim that we, the mayor and the Hillsborough Township Committee, do hereby commend the Hillsborough Baseball League 11U team, the coaches and parents, not only for the successful season, but for their hard work, dedication, and commitment to the sport and to those principles of good sportsmanship, teamwork, and academic achievement, which the organization endorses. Be it further proclaimed that we, the mayor and Hillsborough Township Committee, further commend the Hillsborough Baseball League 11U team for the honor they have brought to themselves, their organization, and our community. Congratulations to everyone. It is amazing that baseball was able to go on this season. I know there were so many kids that were dying to get out there. So congratulations to all the 11U participants there. That is a great achievement that you brought back to Hillsborough. We're very proud of all of you. Okay, moving on this evening from proclamations. We have none at this time, so we're going to move to public comment on new business and matters not on the agenda. If you have a public comment on a matter not on the agenda, if you could please raise your hand to talk. I will promote you to speak, but please state your name and address for the record. Okay, so far we have one. Ms. Janine Erickson, please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Janine Erickson. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. 37 Murray Drive, Hillsborough. I just wanted to first say, as a member of the Economic Business and Business Development Commission, that we are really excited about this year's Restaurant Week that's coming up September 29th through October 4th. From going around and speaking with the various restaurants in the area, it is so important for us to support them so that we can help them through the difficult times that they've been experiencing. So I know, Mayor, you have done some great videos that have highlighted the restaurants that are participating in the program. So I encourage people to check that out on the Hillsborough Business page and see those. But I just encourage people to come out, support our businesses. We really need them. The restaurants are looking forward to doing some great menus for that week. And also just to say thank you so much for driving out to work the other day and on South Branch Road, and it is all repaved, and it is wonderful. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate the new roadways and all that you're doing to repave the roads in our area. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for the comments this evening. Just one other thing I wanted to add about the restaurants, and I meant to mention it earlier and I had forgotten, and I apologize. So many of these restaurants that we visited, and I know we all go to many as restaurants as we can here in town, but for so many years, they've given back supporting the Junior Raiders, the Dukes, the football at the high school, the Little League, I mean, soccer clubs, cheerleading, everything here in town. There's no better opportunity than now to go out there and support them. I mean, when I'm doing these tours, I'm hearing how they lost 70, 80, 90% sometimes of business during the beginning of COVID. And they picked some of it back up, but certainly they're still in a very terrible spot, some of them. So if you have the opportunity and you have the means, please get out there and support them now more than ever. They really can use it. We have one other individual who's raised their hand to talk. Susan Gulliford, if you could state your name and address, please.
Okay, it's Susan Gulliford, Hunt Club Road.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I have a question. You had, I think it was Siobhan on before from the health department about contact tracing calls and the importance of it. But I have a question about calls I've gotten that don't seem to be legitimate. Are there any hints or tips on how to tell if a call is legitimately from our health department or not? Thank you.
Thank you. I do still have Siobhan on line. Do you have anything that you could add, Ms. Spano, to that? If there's any way, I mean, I know that we would identify ourselves from the health department, but since I don't see her unmuting herself, what I will ask our clerk to do is if we could find any tips maybe on the state's website or on the CDC about that, a way to ensure that there's no scams regarding COVID. Maybe we could put that out in the e-news next week.
Sure, and there's some information on our website already
Okay,
under the health department.
perfect.
But I think we could safely say we won't ask for personal information like your social security number or, any kind of debit
Right.
card.
Any
yeah,
banking or
it's,
personal identification.
So,
Yes,
No.
that's a great point. Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
right. We wouldn't be asking any of that personal information. And we would be asking about, things like symptoms and contacts, and that's about it. And that, we wouldn't be asking any other questions.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, seeing no one else raising their hand at this time, we're going to move on to our public hearing on 2020-24, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 188 Land Use and Development, Article 5, Districts and Standards of the Code of the Township of Hillsborough by amending Section 113.5 TC Town Center District. The proposed revisions would clarify permitted residential uses within the district. It establishes specific density standards and allows for single-use multifamily buildings within a mixed-use development with a minimum affordable housing set aside of 20% for multifamily buildings and 10% for duplex, triplex, and townhouse units. Further clarifies green technology requirements as well. We have our planner, Mr. Maskey, on the line, as well as our council on affordable housing managers, Mr. Bernstein, here to answer any questions we have from the committee or for residents. May I have a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance 2020-24?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you both. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Is there any discussion from the dais?
I have a couple questions that I'm sure everyone will be able to answer. First, I'm just going to read something that is just something I want to read. Watching the news these days, we can see that we're facing a climate change crisis. Record heat, fires, and hurricanes are ravaging not only our country, but the world. And it is up to all of us to help in any way we can to slow the rising temperature. As a community and elected officials, we can make a difference by reducing the need for cars, encourage pedestrians and bike traffic, and by encouraging sustainable development. So my question is, reading through this, we were asking people to follow leads. If you are renting an apartment that is very sustainable and has Energy Star appliances, you're not going to be paying as much in your utilities, which means the renters and people have a little more money in their pocket in which they can go out and spend at restaurants and stores and get food, which helps us because then our businesses have a lot of people. So by having the builders follow these sustainable plans, you're actually, helping the people who are renting, but you're also helping our township in, having more money being spent here on that level. I'm a little bit, my question is that when you get down here, you just have that, suggest. It's not mandated anymore. So if they have a good reason why they're not using this appliance or that, it's just up to the planning board to go, okay. So I'm wondering why that was changed, because it's just suggested now.
Well, if you go down to.
Yeah, I will.
You're in. Sorry.
Yeah.
Turn my microphone off. Apologize there.
I mean, it's just the
But one thing that
wording,
certainly
attempts. They
I've
can
learned
make attempts.
when I was working with when my company was working on a project, to build to LEED standards is great. To get LEED certification costs additional money, more so than it's worth. You could build above and beyond what LEED does and still not get the designation for LEED. You can actually probably go beyond that, but paying just for the term LEED on a project will cost thousands, tens of thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands, depending on the size of the project, when you've already built to that standard. So I think in the section where it says a design standard similar to LEED scorecard or equivalent rating schedule takes care of part of that. And also, I think your question regarding will meet the United States Environmental Protection Agency's EPA Energy Star standards would satisfy your concerns for the multifamily residential projects.
I think the word attempts should be made to meet the minimum. So that's kind of a greenish thing. Oh, it's greenhousing, but what does that really mean? By putting attempts, that could mean they don't have, they can do less sustainable than what they would have to do.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
both Mr. Maskey and I, as well as Mr. Ferrara, spent a significant amount of time trying to retain the LEED language that you find in there. I will indicate to you that this was pressed hard against us by the Fair Share Housing Center, by the Special Court Master, and ultimately by Judge Miller, who told us if you want this provision, which would keep down the number of affordable housing townwide as well, you weren't going to get the full LEED standard that you were seeking. And that's why the language in there is in there, because that's what the court would approve.
So just to be clear, the fair share advocates are advocating against LEED.
That is correct, because they were concerned about the issues that Your Honor raised, that the costs of bringing oneself to full LEED certification would be cost prohibitive and therefore problematic toward the development of affordable housing.
Does that answer your question, Committeewoman?
So what you're saying is that the court mandated that we had to change this, or we wouldn't get builders to come in and build their affordable housing. I think that their land is worth more than it was before, and they're going to be making more money than they would if they didn't do this development. So
I think what he was
No,
saying, was to be clear, he was saying that they wanted more units.
What the court allowed us to do, Committeewoman, was to avoid addressing our unmet need. By the adoption of the Change Town Center ordinance, the several hundred units of potential unmet need that would exist between the township's vacant land analysis number and the number established by David Kinsey on behalf of the Fair Share Housing Center and pursuant to Judge Jacobson's decision in the West Windsor matter would still be our obligation to build between now and 2025, even though we did not have to agree to build it now. We don't have that obligation now. To allow a tinkering of the town center ordinance, which takes down slightly the lead certification issue, allows us not to have to build several hundred more affordable housing units and 4 to 5 times that in terms of market rate units. So while no one on the township was particularly happy for this, most notably Mr. Maskey, I will indicate to the committee that this was the compromise we got to get a larger provision that was more beneficial to the township above and beyond, still allowing for lead certification potential, which I will tell you does not exist in most affordable housing ordinances.
So just so I understand completely, and for the audience listening at home, if we did want to raise it to lead, it could have been hundreds of additional units that were being foisted onto the municipality.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'll just read the last line here, which would be, if you're following along, would be down the bottom section, be 1 and 2, right before J. At a minimum, applicants shall submit the following information to the Planning and Zoning Department at the time of site application: a summary of green technology utilized in the building design similar to a LEED scorecard or equivalent rating schedule, accompanied by the explanation on how each credit would be achieved or why credit cannot be achieved for this project. And for multifamily residential projects, the degree of which appliances and fixtures will meet the United States Environmental Protection Agency's EPA's Energy Star standards. So in a nutshell, Counselor, I could be wrong, if they're not going to meet it, they're going to have to do some explaining as to why.
That is correct, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
And Mayor, just to sort of piggyback on some of the comments earlier, it's, you know, the issue I think we need to keep in mind is that I would argue it's infinitely more detrimental from an environmental perspective to have several hundred or possibly thousands of additional units as opposed to sort of slightly scaling back the LEED certification requirements. And I say certification, not standard, because the intent is still to try to meet as close as possible some of those standards, but not seek the certification. And the impact to building all of those additional units would be substantially worse.
I'm sorry, it seems topsy-turvy to me, so just, be patient and explain to me that if we did LEEDs, more sustainable building, they would make us do more. But if we do less, they let us build less.
Welcome to the affordable housing laws of the state of New Jersey that we've been talking about for the last 20 years.
But it doesn't,
It does not make sense. None of this makes sense. And I
it doesn't make any
encourage
sense to
you
me at all.
to partner with me and reach out to your legislators like we have for the last several years and beg them for some help and some protection, because this is what's going on.
Why would they care if we did LEEDs? Or if you do LEEDs, you have to have more. But if you don't do LEEDs, we'll cut down your affordable housing
Because it's the cost for the developers to build. That's all this comes down to. These are windfalls for developers. And again, I can't encourage you enough to join us and reach out to our legislators, which we've done on numerous occasions. Reach out to the governor and ask for some protections regarding affordable housing, just taking advantage of towns that have open space. I mean, that's the reality here. You see towns like South Brunswick, Hillsborough, Bridgewater, Montgomery, any town that has open space, they're saying, guess what? You got to build to the max. And,
Right, I understand that.
And the original numbers that they were talking about of 2,000 plus affordable housing units, which triggers 10,000 total units because of the ratios that they use, which again is ridiculous. And we were able to scale it back to what we were. And unfortunately, this is the sort of thing that Fair Share Housing argues against, and literally says you have to have lower your design standards in order to reduce the number of housing that you have to build. So I encourage you to join us in your anger and reach out to the governor and anyone else who will listen, and get out there and say, you know what, maybe these affordable housing laws aren't working right now.
So the way this is written, the court goes, okay, you're good. This is something that we have to vote on.
Well, this is one of the, if, correct me
This-
if
this
wrong,
is-
we've already taken.
This is a piece of your settlement agreement with
Yes.
Fair. This is
Okay.
actually the last piece from a ordinance point of view of your settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing to allow us to move toward compliance and hopefully be rid of my biweekly appearances on behalf of affordable housing issues at some point in the eventual future.
Well, I appreciate your explanation. I'm sure most people will be educated in what we're doing here, because I certainly did have some questions about the bottom part.
Yeah, I mean, if we go and change it back, you're basically asking to build several hundred of extra affordable housing units. That's the reality.
Just a quick mention, Mayor, if I may,
Yep.
that you're always going to find, no matter what you do, that the state of New Jersey will always side with the builders. Doesn't matter what you do locally. Just saying. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comment from the dais before we take some from the floor? Seeing none, same rules apply. If you could please press the raise your hand button and we will go from there. But first I should make a motion to take comments from the floor. Oh, we just need to open it from the floor. Okay. First up, Ms. Gulliford, I'm going to promote you. State your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Susan Gulliford, Hunt Club Road. I want to follow up on Committeewoman Holmes and Mr. Lapani's comments. I want to make sure I understand first of all, the lead. When we were referring to lead, we were actually using the brand name, so to speak, but by switching it over to using green technology or other equivalent rating, we're saving money for the builders because they don't have to pay for the brand name, correct?
Kind of, sort of. By getting rid of the term lead, they no longer have to, as you said, pay to a professional designation. However, they still need to build to a standard similar to that. The trade-off being, as discussed, is that if we fought to keep that in, you're looking at several hundred affordable housing units that would need to be added.
Okay.
I can't stress how ridiculous that sounds, but that is literally the way that the cards are stacked against municipalities in favor of developers of affordable housing.
But at the end,
Okay, okay,
Hold on, I'm sorry, Committeeman Delcor was just responding to you as well.
oh, okay.
trade-off that we would take 100 times out of 100. If I don't want to put myself in the mind of what Fair Share Housing was, what their rationale is, but at the end of the day, this, for slightly minimizing the requirements, it's a better opportunity for us to limit the number of projects that have to get built. So
Correct.
at the end of the day, it's still, so I'm
It's
not
less cars on
I'm
the
not worried
road.
about why Fair Share does what they do. We're trying to figure out what the best opportunity for Hillsborough is.
No, great point. Yeah, it's less children in the school, less cars on the road. There are several other factors there. Ms. Gulliford, you had other comments?
Yeah, I have a follow-up on that. The section that Mr. Lapani was reading. Under 1, they have to have an explanation of how each credit would be achieved or why it cannot be achieved for the project. When they make that, what happens, first of all, is just the cost enough of a reason? And what happens if a planning board doesn't accept their explanation of why a credit cannot be achieved?
Then the developer or the applicant is going to have to address whatever desires that the board has within the purviews of the ordinance and the law. Right now, it's hypothetical at best to figure out what the board would do depending on what the situation is. But the applicants who come before the planning board in this township, and I can state this, Ms. Gulliford, based on more than 20 years of representing the board with pretty much almost everybody who sat up on this committee being on the board at some point. We have an exceedingly intelligent board and developers who are smart enough to look in the eyes of board members and listen to the residents in question that you know, having attended meetings, and get the message accordingly. That's why, for all intents and purposes, I think I've had 2 lawsuits against the planning board in 20 years. There are a lot of towns that have a lot more and a lot less time because it's the board does its job and the applicants understand what they need to do.
Okay.
Okay, so sorry.
No, it's
So
okay.
they can try to give their reason that, oh, it costs too much, and then it's just up to the board to decide what they'll accept.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gulliford. Okay, next up. Hold on just 1 second. There we go. Ms. Ann Lee, if you could please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Trian Lay, 4 Ivy Lane. Is it coming through clearly?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So I tried to follow the changes in the ordinance number 24, and I just have a question because in section B, as in boy, 19, and then D, there's a reference to a minimum affordable housing set aside of 20%. And then in section D, as in dog, 1D, it then refers to a minimum affordable housing set aside of 10%. Could someone explain why there's a difference there? And also, in the end, what does this opportunity provide in terms of actual numbers of affordable housing units?
The 20% plus is going to take precedence over the other language.
And again, it was language that was already approved by the courts as part of our settlement.
Okay, but even if it takes precedence, what does the 10% mean?
Mr. Mayor, the issue of D relates to conditional uses as it also interacts with transfer development and related items, which is relatively limited for the town center. And in fact, I don't think we've had any transfer TDR issues since the ordinances were adopted way back, I think, when Committeeman Drake and the rest of you were all on this committee. That's the 10% related to the TDR issue. The 20% and up relates to this. And as the governing body is aware, there's an ordinance you also introduced, or if you haven't, we will be asking to introduce, which allows us to have 20% with the ability to go above 20%. As the committee is aware, almost all of our projects in town have been at 24, which is unheard of in the state.
So, yeah, so I have a question. So in B19D, it says where 5 or more dwelling units are created, a minimum affordable housing set aside of 20% shall be provided. Does that mean that if you built 5, then one of the 5 would be affordable housing?
Yes.
Okay.
And that, by the way, ma'am, is a requirement pursuant to the Supreme Court's decision in 2015 that indicated a minimum of 20%. Actually, it's 20% for sale and 15% for rental. The township has never stood by that provision. It's been 20% across the board. And in fact, it's pretty much been 24% across the board, which allowed the township to reduce the number of market rate units built in town because we reduced the number of total units that had to be built.
Yes, yes. So then why is it 20% in this one where you did, as you mentioned, that it has been 24%?
Because this should come as no surprise. It's my mantra of the evening. It is what the law provides, and therefore what the court would sanction, with the understanding the court intends to sanction an ordinance which this governing body, I believe, will be passing at some point, which allows us to go above the standard. But we can't, they won't, the court nor the court master will allow us to mandate the 24%, but they won't stop us from doing it. So long as the appropriate language exists in the ordinance, which it will at the appropriate times. But I will indicate again to the public that all of our settlement agreements have called for more than 20%.
I'm sorry, but are you saying that the ordinance is not set as it is, that there is
This
additional?
ordinance is set as it is. Where we are, if the mayor will allow me for a moment,
Please.
is sort of we have gotten fairness approval. Ostensibly, what the court has done is approved all of our intervenor agreements we came to agreement with, as well as a separate agreement with the Fair Share Housing Center. We are now in what was called the compliance period. What we are being required to do during this period is to pass additional ordinances, update our plans, et cetera. And one of the provisions that we are going to do that has been approved already by the court, and I believe will be introduced shortly, will be an ordinance relative to our housing element, which will require 20% minimum for 5 units or more, giving the municipality the option to go above the 20%. But as for this item at this time, it's the 20% minimum standard.
Mr. Bernstein, can I just maybe summarize that in a sec?
We might be my guest.
In the ordinance here, which we're creating for the town center, it's establishing, just like we do for almost all of the provisions in the ordinance, the minimum standards.
Correct.
That does not mean we can't then exceed them and create additional benefit for the town in the actual plan that gets developed. But this is just setting the minimum standards.
That is correct. And by the way, Your Honor, Committeeman Delcourt, et cetera, there is already a development currently on the books to be developed in town center, which calls for a 24% affordable housing component, which has been approved not only by this town, excuse me, it's been approved by this town for zoning, it's been approved by the planning board for development.
Thank you, Committeeman. Mr. Bernstein. Any other comments this evening?
Well, so then if it's 24% and there are 5 units, then how many units are affordable housing?
1 1/4.
Well, if it were 5 units at 24%, it would be 1.2 units, and it would basically be a requirement that they produce a donation to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for the 2/10 of a unit. If it was a 1.5 or above, it would be rounded up to 2.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Give me 1 second. Okay, we have one more comment from the public on this matter, it looks like. I believe it's Merrill Bisberg, but it just says Merrill B. So please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, that's correct. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Merrill Bisberg, 4 Hickory Hill Road, Hillsborough. So I think Mr. Bernstein started to allude to this. There were several developments in our agreement that was signed with Fair Share Housing, I guess it was executed in April, that we were already starting to zone, and some had already passed through planning, and some actually are being built or have been built. So if a development is already in that stage, particularly the ones that have passed through planning but haven't been built yet, do they build to this standard or do they build to the last standard that existed when it was passed, when the development was passed?
They would be required, and remember, we're only talking about here, folks, is the town center.
Right.
If they were approved for a development at a certain zoning, well, let's go back. All the interveners who got approvals had separate zoning ordinances attached to their settlement agreement. So they are bound by the settlement agreement and the ordinances contained herein. If a development were to come to the planning board right now today in the town center district, they would be required to follow the existing town center district ordinances. If this is adopted tonight And when the clerk publishes it, anytime thereafter, they would be required to follow what the existing ordinances are. The so-called elimination of the so-called time of decision rule. So the ordinance that's in place at the time of the application is what they are governed by.
Okay, thank you. And the other thing I wanted to mention was, I believe that RPM, who is the developer for Sherman Tract, was in their planning documents, and as their plan was passed, they were going to build to LEED certification. Am I correct?
I believe they're going to endeavor to try to build toward LEED certification, but understand here's the difference. Relative to RPM and phase 1 and phase 2 of the Sherman tracks, that was a designation by the municipality as to a developer of the site on its behalf. We didn't need fair share housing. We didn't need the court master. And with all due respect to Judge Miller, we didn't need Judge Miller. Because we needed all three people for this piece, we got a separate result. That's why it happened.
Okay.
If we had the same control over the town center issue that we had over the Sherman property, I would suspect the language that was in the ordinance that Mr. Maskey drafted would be acceptable as it was drafted and not as it was changed at the insistence of fair share housing and the special master.
Okay. I guess my comment is that our town center should really be our cornerstone, our centerpiece of our development and of how we treat the environment. And I just feel that if a nonprofit, I know I'm using the word nonprofit loosely. I know that the affordable housing developers are still somewhat profit driven, but I believe that most of the affordable housing developers do certify for LEED. And I guess I feel like it should be able to be done in our town center also.
Ma'am, you're actually answering your own question. Developers who are in the business of developing affordable housing are in a very different marketplace than people who are building affordable housing as a means to an end to build more market rate housing. There isn't a developer I've dealt with across the state in all the years I've been practicing who doesn't tell you that there is no money to be made in building affordable housing. That's why there was such a thing as builder's remedy. That's why there's such a thing as a bonus density, because they need the incentive, and I put that in quotes, to build affordable housing. And in order to make money to build affordable housing, they have to build more market rate housing. LEED certification, be damned, et cetera. We wanted RPM to build to a LEED or close to it, and that's what they're going to end up doing.
Yes, there's a difference between building to LEED standards and being LEED certified. That's the difference.
That as well.
LEED standards is doing the work without going for the piece of paper that goes on the wall that says you're LEED, which is the cost.
Any other comments, Ms. Bisberg?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. At this time, I see no other comments, so may I have a motion to close the public hearing and adopt ordinance 2020-24.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Committeeman Alcorn,
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes,
Yes.
Committeewoman Macaulay,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lapani,
Yes.
Mayor Thompson.
Yes, and just want to thank everyone for the discussion, because I think it really clarified that we want everyone to build to a LEED standard here in Hillsborough. I think that is a lofty goal. I think it benefits both short-term and long-term, but we have a serious situation with affordable housing in the courts. So I encourage anyone listening at home or at the dais to continue to reach out to their elected officials at the state level and continue to advocate for a little more environmental justice in regard to helping us protect as many pieces of Hillsborough as possible. I think we can all agree to that. Okay, I think we have one more ordinance up for this evening. Is that 2020? There it is. Yep. 2020-20, an ordinance changing the name of the north section of Old Somerville Road to Mavis Court in accordance with NJSA 40:671K for the consideration of public hearing to be held on September 22nd, 2020. May I have a motion to open the public hearing to ordinance 2020-20?
So move, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Seeing none, is there any discussion from the dais? Seeing none, any discussion from the floor? We have one from Ms. Gulliford. Please state your name and the address, please.
Susan Gulliford, Hunt Club Road. Where did the name Mavis come from? Was that something historic? How was it chosen?
That we have a list of individuals who have served in foreign wars, and we pull from that list.
Ah, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Any other comments from the floor? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Motion.
I'm sorry, may I have a motion to close the public hearing and adopt ordinance 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you all. Now roll call.
Committeeman Delcor,
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes,
Yes.
Committeewoman McCauley,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor LaFawney,
Yes.
Mayor Thompson.
Yes. I don't believe we have any new ordinances this evening, so we're going to move on to resolutions. Is there anyone on the dais that wish to take one separately? Seeing none, I would just like to congratulate Captain Dave Fisher. We swore him in earlier today. Committeewoman McCauley and I had the honor of joining him and his family and members of the police department as we did a private ceremony to swear in our newest captain. I think we've all had a chance to know Captain Fisher for some time now, and he is an exemplary member of our police department. So we are very honored to have him working with our chief. I think they are going to serve us for many years to come with excellence. So congratulations to Captain Fisher. Also, just a quick reminder that our fluke clinic, which we're voting on in a second, will be held this Thursday as well. We'll put information out. We already have put information out about that, and we'll continue to do so. May I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments from the dais? From the floor? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Committeeman Delcor,
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes,
Yes.
Committeewoman McCauley,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor LaFawney,
Yes.
Mayor Thompson.
Yes. A motion approves claim list 2020-16.
So moved.
Second.
Comments from the dais? From the floor? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Committeeman Delcor,
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes,
Yes.
Committeewoman McCauley,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor LaFawney,
Yes.
Mayor Thompson.
Yes. Okay, this concludes our regular meeting. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.